Hey all, I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to document this weird tangent HoeMath went on Twitter yesterday. He seems to have gone down a road where he believes that all video games are just inherently satanic and turn people into communists. Yes, really. It was really weird. But by the rationale he gives, he also pushes the idea that basically all media all the time does that. It was a really fucking bizarre tangent he went on, and I wanted to just, I think I said I wanted to document it because it's so odd. It started with this whole dog gimp mask thing that's common in left-wing spaces, which, to be quite frank, I don't particularly care about that. BDSM-esque and equivalent fetishes can be found all over the world in all various peoples and places. Left-wing, right-wing, everyone kind of has every culture has some kind of equivalent of this kind of submission fetish. The only weird thing about this stuff in particular to me is how in a very left-wing parts of the world, like in California and such, this tends to be very out in the open, whereas those kind of submissive roleplay stuff tends to be more down low and hidden in the back, which is why I think this particularly weirds people out. And some said, "Can anyone explain this?" And HoeMath went off on one. I believe in this big comment here. Yes, I can. This is gonna clear up a lot. It actually doesn't, but okay. Go pee or get a glass of water first. You're gonna need a minute to process. Welcome back. Have you noticed yet how leftists gravitate to certain things? How, sort of the same way that conservatives go hunting and fishing and watch sports, leftoid goblin perverts like these cluster around things like anime, video games, sexual deviancy and anthropomorphism. Which, that is a wild claim right off the bat. I don't think a lot of this is explicitly left-wing. It's, first of all, the right-wing stuff he considers very, very stereotypical. Not everyone who is right-wing watches sports and goes fishing. It's a common thing, but it's not a universal thing. But sexual deviancy is a human trait across the board. Just specific forms of sexual deviancy appear in different places with different peoples, different cultures, different politics and such. And it's usually the specific forms which are odd. But the idea, one, that anthropomorphism is an inherently left-wing concept is weird, because anthropomorphism as a thing has existed since the 1920s or whatever. Think Mickey Mouse and all that. And Disney himself, the actual guy, he was a very right-wing kind of guy. But this is existed throughout the ages. Bugs Bunny, Daft Duck, all those kinds of stuff. And in modern day, there's lots of furryism as well. And furries are a very mixed group. There are right-wing furries and left-wing furries. It's not explicitly political thing. But this one in particular, anime and video games. Left-wing perverts are drawn to things like anime. I don't think video games and anime should be considered a left-wing thing. Aren't what people usually say that is the exact opposite? That anime and video games are turning people into right-wing fascists and all that? Take Gamergate, for example. Whatever your thoughts on that are, I don't really care. But it's safe to say, I think everyone agrees that Gamergate was not a left-wing thing. By any stretch of the imagination. And yet here, HoeMath is stating it as just an absolute truth that animated cartoons from Japan and video games are just a left-wing thing. He does go on to try to justify this as well, and not very well. Yeah, he goes on to say, well, conservatives go on to do those things because that's what everyone else did. Daddy hunted, Grandpappy was a Calvinist, a religious type. But no one has done any of this dog mask shit before. Again, completely untrue. This is just a form of BDSM, which again, it has existed in many forms in many cultures. each one slightly varying, but all cultures have some kind of equivalent of a submission fetish. Even if this dogma's thing, it's explicitly is more of a left-wing thing. For like LGBT circles and such, it's just like their equivalent. Now, if you ask them, they might tell you that they choose these things because they are so progressive. Because they are progressive. We are creative souls expressing who we truly are, or whatever. But if that was true, wouldn't they all have their own individualistic expressions of self? Why would pup play become popular with what is like 10% of them now? Again, it is kind of odd how common it is and how out in the open it is. But again, it's not a thing unique to them. Also, as with any kind of like form of expression, a lot of it is to do, everyone kind of has like their own individual interpretation of a common thing. It's kind of like using left-wing circles as an example, how everyone has like really coloured hair and such, but no one has like exactly the same coloured hair. They all express themselves in a similar group way, but in a slightly tweaked way to suit what they consider to be individualistic. And again, everyone in other circles have their equivalents. If you go up here, he said something about hunting or fishing. Like even among fishermen circles, everyone has their own like waders or their own fishing rods or their own like place to fish and their own styles and such. Again, it's their own like cultural circles way of expressing things, but they're all like in a similar category. He's like, this is not an exclusive to this group. But this is where the whole thing kind of takes the big spin. Where the whole anime and video game things comes back. A while ago, Matt Walsh blog, which is Matt Walsh's Twitter account, stated, perhaps rhetorically rather than conversationally, he felt that anime was satanic, although he could not explain why. It was just a really dumb thing. He was being paranoid. That's really all there is to it. Matt Walsh is kind of a mixed bag in that aspect. I offered to explain why in exchange for exposure, which isn't coming, I guess. So I will reveal the through line now. Yeah, apparently part of this is just that HoeMath is a bit butthurt that Matt Walsh didn't respond. Okay. Leftists actively hate their own free will. All of this weird shit they do, those are attempts to rid themselves of responsibility. They don't want to be held accountable for anything, you know, like what we complain about in typical immature women. Again, like I said, every culture has their equivalents, but the idea that BDSM is a submission fetish is something anyone could explain. That's not like something unique that HoeMath brings to the table. So, I'm a dog equals I'm just a dumb animal. Care for me. This is why children's cartoons are always animals. Animal nature, child nature, innocent, no free will. Now you can see where it's starting to go into a weird tangent. I'm actually a woman. I'm valuable because I exist, not because of what I do. Games. I still have to play and learn. I'm not a grown-up yet. So everyone who plays video games is immature regardless of what kind of games they're playing or why. Communism. Guarantee me an income and I'll, even if I do nothing. Again, just equating games to communism. What? Even most homosexuality. I'm in the girl's role now. This happens to me, not because I earned it, but because I'm here. That's a wide statement, isn't it? Like, it's just kind of working off like the effeminate gay man stereotype, which is not what all gay men are. That's just like a lot of the outspoken left-wing gay groups, like the people who loudly announce they are part of the LGBT community. Not all gay people are part of the LGBT community. A lot of them are their own individual people who go off in their own direction, who are not like this at all. But it's like, he's painting with very broad, very wide brushes. What does this have to do with anime? Well, there's a reason I use cartoons in my videos. because they're simple, like games. Not all games are simple. Like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Cartoons are a way of depicting only the parts of something that you want people to look at. This is where he kind of shoots himself in the foot a little bit. I don't think he thought this all the way through, but like with this in mind and some of the stuff he says later, he kind of like subconsciously starts to admit he thinks his own cartoons are literal Satanism that causes people to turn into communists. That's how he views his own cartoons. Which I don't think he consciously thinks that. I just don't think he thought this through. Look at these faces I drew. Image. That. The male one is just 3 circles, 2 dots, and a wavy line. There's very little room for interpretation. He's puzzled. She's disappointed. She looks more she also looks puzzled. But whatever. She's wondered. All the remaining complexity of humanity is stripped away. Drawing cartoons equals I did all the work of interpretation for you. That's why people come to me. I teach things quickly by showing you only what you need to see. Cartoons, anime in particular, are similarly stripped down, again equating anime with his own cartoons. And anime in particular acts as a gateway drug because it is so widely used as a style. You can jump from artist to artist without feeling like you've changed channels. And there is infinite content, so you spiral downward into self-imposed infancy, which is satanic. Again, admitting he thinks his own cartoons are satanic. But also this whole... I think he clarifies more later, but basically his line of thinking is if you create art in one style, and you can create anything in that style, then people will look at your art, go, I like that art, and then they'll look at other artwork in the same style that communicates different ideas and will just automatically, like, unknowingly agree with it. Like if you saw a painting of right-wing values that was done in like an anime style, created to style doesn't matter, in a particular style, you go, oh, I agree with that, I love that. And then you look at another piece of art in the same style, another painting or an anime, whatever, that pushes communistic values. Because it's in the same style, your brain just automatically goes, yeah, I also like that. Which is not how the human brain works, like, at all. We actually do take into account the things we're listening to. And it's, while propaganda can be a powerful thing, actual powerful propaganda doesn't work under this logic at all. That works more under the logic of, convincing people they're victims of something even if they're not. But this idea that you can just like swap out the messaging of something and keep the same style and you'll still convince people to listen to you is just dumb. It is just a really dumb thing. You start with Akira or Cowboy Bebop. You end up developing feelings for anime girls who are easily idolized because they are only the bits of girls that you like, with none of the pesky human nature. Again, that can be true under certain circumstances with certain characters, but a lot of characters people like are they like because of their more human nature. It's not a universal rule, or not even like a majority rule. You desire simpler, less human. Your chosen content gets more and more childish. Disney, My Little Pony. Whatever the internet has to offer, anything you can think of. So again, if you like Disney, you're more communist and left-wing. There are like those kinds of circles, like Disney adults and that kind of stuff. But just because you like a Disney movie as an adult hasn't turned you into a communist or pushed you towards that inherently. That's just silly. You get sucked into the feeling of experiencing only the good parts of life and none of the downsides. And before long, it comes out in your politics. I should be a baby, feed me, wah, is all the left says anymore. Again, he's talking in general terms, which would apply to anyone who watches media, for any reason. Like, no, experiencing media doesn't work that way. And like, part of it kind of starts to imply that he doesn't get he doesn't like watch media that often, because what makes storytelling inherently interesting is not only the good parts of life. It's the conflict. Conflict is what makes stories, which goes against this entirely. And you kind of start to get the feeling that he doesn't actually engage with media, like, at all. More on that in a second. And since we are long past the point where anyone who falls into this soul blender can easily find others to support their delusions with a few clicks, we now have them acting out in public under the guise of art or identity. So people can more easily find each other, which, yes, it does include weirdos. Like, weirdos can more easily find each other nowadays. That's a problem. But so can all the positives of people. People who get good things from art can also find each other. Like, say, like people who built their lives around a particular hobby or something. Like, it's way easier nowadays to find like a gardening club online if there isn't any gardening clubs locally. That's become a big thing. It's not just the weirdos. Look at absolutely any weird thing the left does and what you'll find is, I'm a baby, I deserve. Again, it's not universal. It's such a just a, like I said, he's painting with just really broad strokes about things that apply to everyone on every side, and just assuming it's only what certain groups do. No, it doesn't quite work like that. Like, and it is a common thing on like the authoritarian part of the left, not the libertarian part of the left, because those are different. The libertarian left is the freedom side, and the authoritarian left is the I'm a baby, I deserve communist kind. But to be quite frank, right-wing circles also have their equivalents. There's a reason there's an authoritarian right and a libertarian right and a libertarian left and an authoritarian left. Authoritarianism and libertarianism are inherently opposite. A lot of the stuff he's talking about isn't really a left-wing thing so much as it's an authoritarian thing. No one wants to grow up. You can't blame them. It doesn't pay anymore. Again, people have made their entire careers based around like gaming and anime and cartoons that you draw. It doesn't really... This doesn't work. It's like the internet kind of changed this entirely. What? Finally, if that wasn't enough for you, one day go read Alistair Colway and what the Arion of Ours is. And like, yeah, a lot of people... I wasn't the only one who saw this. I thought this was just a really weird statement. This whole thing is just very strange. In lots of ways, like not just me and not just the way I'm interpreting this. Like, there are lots of ways to interpret this, and basically all of them say this is just weird. This is a weird way of viewing the world. And like I said, it kind of hints at some of the stuff he's about to talk about more. So right off the bat, he realizes that people are annoyed about this, and he just goes on the defensive right away. There are anime and video games with right-wing values. There are ones with left-wing values and right-wing values, and authoritarian values and libertarian values. Mostly libertarian, because the whole point of video games is that you can choose your way of doing things. So obviously that like lends itself more to a medium where player choice is like the key thing. But like they come in all kinds of shapes. It's an art form. It's a medium. So you can express basically anything with them, regardless of what is more common or less common. But then he equates it. Fish. You say hooks are dangerous, but many hooks have worms on them, which are good for eating. Again, pointing to this idea that anime and video games are inherently dangerous. Like, just the idea of the medium itself is dangerous, full stop. They are all fish hooks. They are all dangerous. They're all going to lead you down to Satanism, communism. And if you interact with any of them, that it'll push you in that direction. Even if some of them have the worms in them, some of them are good. Which is just, again, no. And again, he's talking in very broad terms. He's using anime and video games, but everything he's saying would apply to everything, including like movies and TV and just media as a concept. Music would fall under this. Like, songs are simple, but you can say bad things with songs, and that means that people who like songs will listen to your song about that bad things and agree with them because it's a song. That kind of like, is that kind of weird thinking. And he goes on again. Dear anime fans who didn't like this post, please just spend 1 minute imagining the founding fathers signing the Declaration of Independence in a room full of One Punch Man and Dragon Ball Z posters. That was just a really fucking awful attempt at a gotcha, because as someone in the responses points out, that would look really fucking badass. Like, Benjamin Franklin, he would absolutely fuck with Gundam and that kind of stuff. Like, let's not be around the bus. Like, they had their own personalities and their own tendencies as well. Like, this weird image he has in his head of people in general is just odd. Someone responds as well to his fish hooks analogy. I work, I pay for myself, and I game because it's fun. What is the issue with maintaining hobbies? Are we going back to the idea that anything not directly benefit others is somehow beneath men? You know, kind of like classic Andrew Tate, Sigma grind set kind of crap, where everything you do every waking second should be helpful to someone. Is that what he's pushing at? Well, yeah, basically. What is your life about? What is your mission? What is your purpose? What do you like most about life? Do you have it? What do you like least? Can you change it? Are you trying? Is there any time at all in your life that you could be spending on those questions, that you could are instead spending on pleasure for its own sake? Again, he's kind of like, he's subtle, but he's kind of shifted the goalposts there. A lot of this stuff has been talking about the interaction of media at all, but now he's kind of pushing the idea that if you interact with media at all, that you are doing it all the time, period. It's just one or the other. You're either always interacting with media, always wasting your time on pleasure, or you're always being a man and always pushing that Sigma grind set, and there's no in between. Again, it's just odd. You see, most of the comments are roasting him, but some people think this is an April Fool's joke, which I don't think. It is weird they happened on April 1st, but a lot of this is more based on a tangent as opposed to the original comment, which itself didn't come across as jokey in any form. He's also said absolutely nothing in regards to any of this being a joke. So the whole thing's just strange. Yeah, are you actually arguing against all forms of escapism? That is actually retarded, and it is incredibly retarded. It's really fucking weird that if you interact with escapism, period, that is the equivalent of interacting with escapism all the time. They're just equivalent in his minds. He goes on in a separate thread. I'm going to save Western civilization with my video game hobby. If this post made you mad at me, I promise I'm not the problem. Which, no one said that. You can see my response here. No one said that. They called you stupid for saying games and anime are a gateway drug to Satanism and communism. The reason they called you stupid for saying that is because it's really fucking stupid. And it is. It is a really stupid statement. That, again, pushes the idea, and based on the rules he was giving, he was pushing the idea that is inherent to just the entire concept of enjoying any form of media. Which, again, he goes on to clarify a bit more, which is why I'm pushing on that. Someone tries to say back, like, yeah, you kind of like push a lot on memes. So would this the equivalent of this? I'm going to save Western civilization with my memes? And then HoeMath goes on to say, memes are a skill. Creating and spreading ideas is what we need. As opposed to all other forms of media? What? Just passively stating you don't think other forms of media are a skill, but you think memes are. What? That exactly is of what exactly? You can't get any more arbitrary. It's like he's being very weird with what he considers to be a skill, or what is spreading ideas and what isn't. Also, again, all of his logic would work with memes as well. Like you can do like left-wing and right-wing memes. It's well known that left-wing circles are less good at making memes, but they have their own equivalents, and the libertarian left can tell a good joke. So it's not like memes inherently right-wing thing. Maybe that's the logic that's going on in his head, that the stereotype that only right-wing people can tell jokes and left-wing people can't. So memes must be like the only media that's protected or whatever. Maybe. I'm kind of just speculating on that one. But again, it's like, as opposed to what? Like the idea that anime and games aren't a skill to make and that all other art forms aren't a way of spreading ideas? Isn't his entire complaint that the other mediums like anime and games are spreading the wrong ideas? But they still can spread ideas like, what the fuck is he talking about? Another person states, why does my hobby need to save anything long? It's like a lot of people have hobbies to relax, something to do in between working for a greater purpose, like, making a living and such. You get a job, then you come home, you relax or something. Everything you do should make your world better. There are limitless options for things to help you relax and feel refreshed that also make yourself or your surroundings better. Different people are different. People enjoy different things. That not everything you do in life needs to be towards a greater goal. A lot of things you can do just to relax. Like, what the fuck? The idea that you need everything you do should be to benefit the people and things around you is also, as weird as it sounds, this is a communist idea. This is actually a thing plus preached in like Marxist circles, that everything you do should be inherently towards make the world better. You should never do anything just to help yourself. That's like an actual Marxist idea. Not necessarily modern Marxists. It's no joke that a lot of modern Marxists are pretty lazy, and they mostly just want to be like served and such. But like that, as far as actual Marxism is concerned, that's a Marxist statement. So again, I don't think he's thought this all the way through. 6 years after quitting video games, I spent an entire summer with no activities outside of work other than dating, lifting, and gardening. And I have never felt like I was missing a hobby. Your personal experiences and antidotes are not universal. Period. That is also just a load of crap. Like, good for you. If that works for you, that's great. But never assume that your personal anecdotal experiences are just a universal law that applies to all of humanity. That's just dumb. Gardening was the hobby, and it made me healthy, and I produced the best tomatoes I've ever eaten. Infinity options. It's like, again, yeah, great, good for you. I'm glad you enjoyed that. A lot of people enjoy gardening, and I wish all those people the best, but what works for some people is not necessarily what works for others. And I get a lot of people just watch shows and play games just to relax in between their work and such, because they find a lot of stuff pretty draining, and it's like, not everything you need to do has to be towards a greater goal. You can stop and smell the roses, I think, is what he's really missing. Like, he's pushing for an idea that you always must be marching forward on everything. The idea of stopping and smelling the roses, or just enjoying something for the sake of enjoying something, is just an inherently evil concept that will push you into a communism, maybe something like that. I don't know. Like I said, he's making very little sense, and a lot of stuff he's saying is very contradictory. As someone says here, no, not every single thing you do needs to benefit other people. Sometimes it's totally fine to do what you enjoy. You're starting to sound like a feminist. Like I said, he's starting to sound like a left-winger himself. A lot of the ideas he's pushing, I'm pointing to feminism, but it's like, let's be honest, modern feminism is kind of pushed in a Marxist direction. Not old feminism, but new one has. So yeah, he's starting to push very Marxist ideas in his attempts to push people away from Marxism. It's a lot of what he's pushing is like a weird cross between communism and Andrew Tate's Sigma grind set. It's like a combination between both. It's very authoritarian. It's very weird. Real men don't do things for fun. They only work to make society better. Bro, this ain't it, Chief. Yeah, like, fucking agree there, mate. But if someone asked him as well, and this is like another statement as well, this is unrelated, kind of, but it was posted in the same time period. Don't blame other people for what God did to you. That's how you become a leftist. Like, very unfocused, whatever. But someone's going to ask, and you'll see why this is relevant. You said before that you don't watch movies because you don't believe a screenwriter knows more about life than you do. Just kind of... I'm hoping that's not the exact quote, because that's pretty fucking narcissistic, but I'm not going to blame HoeMath for that one. That's probably not exactly right. Maybe, I don't know. I wasn't there for that one. How do people react when you say that? Which I don't think he even answers. So how do you entertain yourself if you don't consume pop culture? Do you play video games, sports, or something else? I spend a lot of time sitting silently and controlling my breath. Great! Aside from work, I lift, bike, hike, swim, and now I have money. I want to ski. I can't believe I missed this whole winter. I play guitar, sing, and I write music. I used to date, but I don't try anymore, and I do a lot of DIY projects. Like I'm currently removing the laces from my hiking boots and then making them Velcro. I really only watch videos when I wake up at 2 AM until I can fall back to sleep while I'm eating. If I ever run out of things to do or energy to do them, I just lay down and sit in the sun and just breathe really slowly and give my body the signal to relax. Basically, he pushes the idea that you just cannot do anything to relax outside of literally doing nothing to relax. You must do every waking second should be towards a better goal and for everyone else or whatever. And if you run out of energy, you should do literally nothing until you got the energy and then get back on the grind set. It's really fucking weird. But you also, like, as you start to get the impression that he doesn't interact with media at all because he's scared that the writers will push ideas onto him and have control him or something. And that's part of why he doesn't want other people engaging with media. But he also pushes, like, this is kind of a lie. He definitely does something else. Because I did a little bit of math to check something. And if you go onto his main page, he made his account on August 2023. And in that time, he has done 12,100 posts, which I did the math on. That's averaging about 20 tweets a day. So he's clearly fucking addicted to Twitter. Like, there are definitely people who do worse. There are people who do hundreds of tweets a day. But 20 tweets a day, roughly, for like 2 years? That's a lot of fucking tweeting, man. But yeah, that's the whole of this thing. It was just a really weird tangent HoeMath went on, and I just wanted to like capture and document it because it is really weird. This guy, I'm being honest, like HoeMath is usually a pretty smart guy. He's not an idiot. I don't think he's stupid. But just because you're a smart person doesn't mean you can't say dumb things. And I think this was him just having a really dumb moment. I also think he's completely out of touch. He's submitted like in that he doesn't really interact with media at all. And yeah, he kind of admitted that he doesn't interact with media, and I think he's so out of touch with it that he's kind of like developed in his head a stereotype of what all media is, and is like working under those stereotypes as opposed to working with the reality of the situation. And yeah, it was just a dumb thing that happened. Hopefully this is just a dumb thing that happens. It's just a brain fart, and maybe he'll look back in the future and go, yeah, that was kind of dumb. I don't actually think that anymore. But if that's the idea he's pushing, that all media inherently turns people into communists, that's just kind of retarded.